What does collapse look like when it's hidden behind neon lights and empty slogans? This is China today, a nation where the skyline still glows, but the ground beneath is quietly sinking. Every headline says recovery, but every street tells a different story of shuttered shops, abandoned homes, and people disappearing into silence. Tonight, we go inside that silence, to the factories without workers, the schools without students, and the homes no one dares to buy. This isn't just another economic downturn. It's the slow unraveling of a system built on illusion. Welcome to China Undercover, and tonight, we expose the crumbling reality behind the facade. It began with a name, Shangguan Zhengyi, a self-styled online investigator who once dared to expose the CCP's dirtiest secrets. Known for his fierce independence and forensic digging, Shangguan was one of the few who dared to publish stories that even state-run tabloids wouldn't touch. He'd revealed corruption among local police, trafficking networks operating under government noses, and the silent machinery of censorship that followed every tragedy in China. But in late September, he vanished. His final post, a short message on Weibo, read only, "The babies have names, but those who took them have none." Within hours, his account disappeared. His home in Hangzhou was raided, and neighbors reported seeing plainclothes officers loading computers into unmarked vans. The next morning, official state media labeled him a fraud and rumor monger. But online, people weren't buying it. One user wrote, "If he lied, why delete every trace of him? Why not show evidence? They erased him because he found the truth." That truth was what the party feared most, a massive, coordinated baby-trafficking network operating across at least 5 provinces, hiding in plain sight on China's most popular lifestyle app, Xiaohongshu, Little Red Book. In the sanitized digital landscape of Chinese social media, everything looks perfect. Cute babies, filtered smiles, and pastel-colored family blogs. But hidden beneath hashtags like #family planning and #surrogacy sharing lies a nightmare. Through coded phrases such as adoption help or newborn gifting, criminal brokers quietly advertise stolen infants for sale. Shangguan had uncovered screenshots of mothers pleading for help to find their missing babies, only to see those same infants later appear in adoption success posts tagged with luxury hospitals in Jiangxi, Henan, and Guangdong. He followed the digital breadcrumbs. Private clinics masquerading as fertility centers, nurses who forged birth certificates, police officials who lost the case files for the right price. One of the most shocking discoveries came from a maternity ward in Guangzhou, where a young mother said her newborn son was declared stillborn. Yet days later, a baby with identical birthmarks was listed online for private adoption. "They told me my baby died," the woman cried in a leaked video, her voice shaking. "But I heard him cry. They took him away before I could hold him." The clip spread like wildfire across Chinese social media before being deleted. Behind the scenes, it wasn't just random criminals. It was an organized supply chain, complete with transport routes, fake paperwork, and high-level protection. A hospital worker who contacted Shangguan anonymously described it as a business of despair. They target single mothers and migrant women, those with no legal voice. Each baby sells for between 100,000 and 300,000 yuan. The profit goes up the chain. Police take their cut. Everyone pretends not to see. In a country where every citizen is tracked, every phone monitored, and every movement recorded, the question burns: how can thousands of babies vanish without a trace? The answer lies in the party's selective blindness. When ordinary citizens complain about corruption or report abuse, they are branded as troublemakers. But when powerful figures commit crimes, the system turns deaf. One father from Henan recounted his year-long nightmare searching for his missing daughter. "I went to the police every day. They told me to stop causing chaos. One officer said, "You should be grateful she's still alive somewhere." Another parent posted a desperate open letter online, begging for help to locate her 2-month-old son. The post gained 70,000 shares within a day. The next morning, her account was gone. A week later, state media declared that no evidence of trafficking was found. The cruelty wasn't just the crime itself, it was the erasure that followed. By the time Shangguan's investigations began drawing international attention, it was already too late. His videos were deleted, his channels locked, his bank accounts frozen. But fragments of his work survived, saved by anonymous users on Telegram and foreign servers. In one recording, he can be heard saying, "They told me to stop digging. They said, 'These are matters above your pay grade.' But when the people who steal babies wear police uniforms, what law is left to trust?" According to contacts who spoke under anonymity, Shangguan had traced part of the trafficking operation to Jiangxi's Public Security Bureau, implicating several mid-level officers. Soon after that revelation, his friends began receiving calls from unknown numbers. One was reportedly detained for spreading rumors about national stability. Today, no one knows where Shangguan is. Some believe he's been arrested. Others fear he's been silenced permanently. In China, one former journalist told China Undercover, "Truth-tellers don't disappear. They're disappeared." As the state cracks down on online rumor-mongering, the stories of the missing continue to surface, whispered in private chats, posted at midnight, erased by morning. In Chengdu, volunteers have found dozens of unregistered infants abandoned in rural clinics, some bearing faint ink marks on their ankles, as if part of an inventory. A nurse who fled the country last year said that local officials had ordered hospitals to handle certain unclaimed newborns quietly to avoid public sentiment incidents. Her testimony was chilling. Sometimes the mothers were detained before they could file a complaint. The babies vanished from the system. No birth records, no death records, nothing, just gone. And yet, the party insists on boasting about its perfect social management. State television runs endless features on safe cities and digital supervision. But for parents who've lost their children, all that surveillance means nothing. "They can track what I buy online, what I say, even my heartbeat," said one mother. "But they can't find my baby." Or maybe they just don't want to. The tragedy of the stolen children is not an isolated scandal. It's a mirror reflecting a deeper national sickness. The same moral decay that allows officials to sell infants also builds collapsing towers and exploding cars. It's the same disease, corruption without conscience, image without substance. And while the party silences citizens like Shangguan, it floods the internet with distractions, patriotic influencers, fake success stories, and endless propaganda about China's unstoppable rise. But behind the glittering slogans, the foundation is rotten. In the next part of this investigation, we'll uncover how that rot spreads into the very industries China once touted as proof of its modernization, the electric vehicle boom and the housing market miracle. From tofu-dreg buildings that crumble within years to tofu-dreg cars that burst into flames, the dream of progress is disintegrating. What began as an age of promise has turned into a slow-motion collapse, one built not on steel and innovation, but on lies and fear. As the economic and retail collapse continues, the consequences are no longer just numbers, they are human lives under pressure. Streets that once buzzed with pedestrians now feel abandoned, and citizens live under constant uncertainty. Families struggle to meet basic expenses while servicing mortgages on properties that have lost over half their value. A 35-year-old professional in Beijing drives a car that belongs to his mother-in-law because he cannot afford his own. A 26-year-old woman from Hebei earns 6,000 yuan a month, pays 3,000 in rent, and survives on less than 800 yuan for all other expenses. She rarely leaves home, has no social life, and faces uncertainty about where she will live next. The once proud middle class is being hollowed out. People who spent years in education, worked long hours, and built careers are now forced into low-paying or irregular jobs just to survive. Many graduate into a market where opportunities are disappearing as fast as the stores on Beijing streets. China's real estate sector, long the engine of growth and wealth, now serves as a barometer for systemic failure. In Yongqing and Hebei, homes that once sold for 23,000 yuan per square meter now sell for 3,500 yuan. In Yanzhou, on the edge of Beijing, prices have plummeted from 42,000 to 6,000 yuan per square meter. In Tianjin, the population has dropped by more than 500,000 over the last 3 years, while new developments have increased by 40%. Second-hand transactions in Beijing have dropped 80% compared with the same period last year. Many apartments are fully furnished, sometimes with appliances included, yet remain unsold for months. One family in Guangha bought a 78-square-meter two-bedroom apartment for 1.9 million yuan in 2019. 5 years later, they still owe 650,000 yuan, having seen their property value collapse. Some luxury apartments that were once priced at 7.1 million yuan are now listed at 3.1 million yuan, and still unsold. Mortgages weigh heavily, making everyday life a constant struggle. The result is visible on the streets: abandoned buildings, silent neighborhoods, and a once aspiring population now trapped in debt and fear. The collapse of physical retail mirrors the emptying of residential zones. Genuine Shopping Center in western Beijing, once bustling, is now a ghost mall. Stores are shuttered, escalators run empty, and even international brands like Adidas have disappeared. Beijing Friendship Store, a symbol of prestige from the 1970s to the 1990s, now sits silent, its glory long gone. APM Mall on a Thursday afternoon is quiet and cold, with staff outnumbering customers. The streets are eerily empty. East Road, once packed with cars, now stands deserted. During holidays, residents flee to suburbs or abroad. The rest hide indoors. Even convenience stores cannot survive. Offline commerce has become a battlefield where no one wins, overtaken by online platforms. This is no longer a projection or speculation. It is observable, tangible, and painful. China is increasingly divided into a small elite and a struggling majority. Government employees, once considered secure, face delayed salaries and lost bonuses. A friend working in a central state-owned company reports being unpaid for 2 months. People working previously stable jobs have turned to delivery, street vending, or scavenging for food. Graduates crowd streets chasing the ghosts of vanished opportunities. Once profitable professions like teaching and administrative work now barely cover living expenses. Even families earning 30,000 yuan a month struggle with mortgages exceeding 20,000 yuan. Medical emergencies can push them into financial ruin. Life has become a survival game where education, experience, and hard work no longer guarantee stability. The collapse is not just economic, it is deeply intertwined with political control. Residents report seeing dark, unmarked military trucks parked along major roads, hospitals, and schools. Authorities are reportedly concerned about potential online mobilization or social unrest. Even casual conversations carry risk. Citizens learn to self-censor, living under quiet surveillance. The presence of troops and the expansion of police activity indicate that the state is preparing for potential unrest caused by a population under extreme economic and social stress. The impact on mental health is pervasive. Anxiety, despair, and uncertainty dominate daily life. People lie awake at night, worrying about rent, mortgages, and the next paycheck. The young generation sees no future despite years of education and labor. Citizens increasingly report feeling invisible, trapped in an economy where opportunities vanish within weeks. One resident described lying in a small rented room for 20 days, staring at the ceiling, paralyzed by the inability to find work. For many, life is a monotonous cycle: chase unstable jobs by day, worry through sleepless nights. China's collapse is not just a story of Beijing or a few major cities, it is systemic. Empty streets, ghost malls, frozen housing markets, and rising inequality paint a stark picture. Economic growth has stalled. Social structures are fracturing. Ordinary citizens are struggling just to survive. Once symbols of prosperity, the bustling streets, soaring high-rises, and lively malls now lie in silence. The lights are on, but the heartbeat of the city has faded. This is the reality China Undercover uncovers: a nation quietly teetering under the weight of economic, social, and political pressures, where survival has become the most urgent priority.